Hello and welcome to episode 126 of the HamCorp Training Manual. In this episode, we expand a bit of infrastructure, primarily by making more MEBFs. And we also finish Compact Fusion Mk4. We finish off the episode by making a bit of Hypogen, tesseracts, infinity coils, and officially entering UIV. My DTPF has been running for a few hours now. 400,000 ticks. That is about 5.5 hours. So in 2.5 more hours, I will be able to actually start doing stuff in here with the full discount. These quantum anomalies are definitely the way to go. I've been using unknown particles and molten uranium and resplendent catalyst. It barely uses any resplendent catalyst at all, so this is a very, very good recipe for this. I made a pattern for molten infinity. I made it pretty big because I think big batches are just nice to do. And I had to manually change the amount of resplendent catalyst. I halved it because I'm going to get a 50% discount when this is up and running at full speed or at full efficiency, which means I sort of will not be able to do this craft until that point. So in the meantime, I'm going to continue crafting the advanced fusion coils, and also I'll start gathering other stuff required for infinity coils and for the UIV coal. As a reminder, the infinity coils are an assembly line recipe now. They need circuits, so I'm going to need quite a few wetware mainframes, infinity screws, 2x wire, and mica insulator foil. I believe this is being changed in the upcoming update, which is not that far off, and I think I'm going to need netherite to make more of these. I'm excited for that. I think more processing lines means more fun, so I am looking forward to it. But I don't really want to wait that long. I don't want to put this off, is what I mean. So I will do this recipe, but I'm not going to make any extra infinity coils in anticipation of the update. Meanwhile, for the component assembly line casings, I think I mentioned this before. It's just a lot of infinity and just a bunch of stuff that we've seen before. A lot of UIV parts as well, which is going to hurt quite a bit. This is going to be a lot of infinity. Part of me is even debating whether or not I should do this. But there is a quest, and that's honestly all the justification I need. Another thing I would like to work on is grade 8 water. I think the earlier I get going on this, the better. To make this thing, I of course need to scan grade 7 water. And to actually craft it, I need some casings, which I'll come back to. But besides that, nothing new actually. Just, UIV type materials. For the casings though, there's quark exclusion casings, which is a bunch of leadox, Callisto ice, that sort of thing. Non-photonic matter exclusion glass. This needs the omnipurpose infinity fuse glass and resplendent catalyst. Femtometer calibrated particle beam casings. Also needs some resplendent catalyst, quite a bit. And other sort of UHV, UEV type parts. And the scan is a top quark. Okay. So the top quark I get from a compact cyclotron using hydrogen plasma, which I have been saving. Remember, I get this from this recipe. Making unknown particles gives me a little bit of hydrogen plasma, and I think I've saved up quite a bit now. It's a 1% chance from 100 liters, so I only really need 10 buckets to be on the rate for getting a top quark. I also need to scan a bottom quark for the particle beam guidance pipe casing. Same process to get the bottom quark, and the materials here are very similar. And finally, bedrockium frame boxes. The Absolute Baryonic Perfection Purification Unit is what it's called. But I have some physics-related complaints about this. We'll come back to that when we actually do it, though. For now, I'm going to continue working on new coils and new coal. By the way, I don't think I showed how I automated, or rather, parallelized my coals. So I did show that I wall shared this, so the component assembly line casings are now shared, but I did not show this setup because it didn't exist and I only just did it. But the way this works is I've replaced all of the input buses with advanced stocking input buses, and they're all auto-pulling. Same thing with the hatches. I've replaced the quad input hatches with an advanced stocking input hatch set to auto-pull. And every single one of these components is on a different subnet. So each subnet here has been color-coded. Each one corresponds to a different circuit number. This is circuit 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Red is my mainnet. White is my fluid handling subnet. And what I have here is red has all of my recipes. It's my mainnet. It pushes stuff into a dual interface. Each of these subnets has a kind of helper subnet, I guess, which is not receiving power right now because I'm not done wiring it up. But basically this black colored subnet, or subnets, since there are 7 of them, or 8 of them, these are just to route the items and fluids to the correct places. So items and fluids enter the black subnet, items get stored in this pink subnet in this example, and the fluid gets stored in the white subnet. The white subnet has nothing except for 2 multi-fluid storage cells. So this is just going to hold fluids, and that's that. And the pink and all the other colored subnets have nothing but 1 ME chest with a 256K ME storage cell in it. So the items get stored here. Now each of these subnets has 2 wireless connectors, one going to each of the coals. So this way, both coals can pull fluids from the white subnet, and both coals can pull from whichever subnet has items in it for crafting purposes. And the nice thing about this setup is it is very, very easily scalable. All I have to do is add more wireless connectors, add more coals, and just wire things up. All of the item storage and stuff does not need to be touched at all. The only thing that I need to do is multiply out the recipes, so I'm actually using the parallels, so to speak. But yeah, I like this design a lot. I also noticed that my unknown particle production was not even close to fast enough. So I made a few more compact cyclotrons, and you can wall share a layer of this, so it's very compact. I'm also sharing maintenance hatches, I'm sharing muffler hatches, I'm sharing inputs and outputs, and the ratio here is I have 2 UV compact cyclotrons producing hydrogen ions in this recipe, and I have 5 of them at UV doing the actual unknown particle recipe. This will leave me with a slight excess of both hydrogen ions and unknown particles, considering that my unknown particles are constantly being used in this DTPF recipe. Currently my setup is overclocked once, the DTPF setup I mean, so I use 1 unknown particle per 30 seconds, and this makes just a little bit more than that, because I do not want to risk losing my DTPF catalyst bonus, because it takes 8 whole hours to build up. Just got done making some more mega electric blast furnaces. Now I have 4, they are all at Awakened Draconium, and I'm currently despaghettifying some stuff so that I can more easily parallelize. And I am not going to be using linked input buses, they suck. So I just need a little bit more time to really clean this up, and then I will talk about what I've done. Along the way, I also did start making fluoroflogopite, because these can be used to make mica insulator foil, and it's just a lot faster, and I don't have to mine mica for it. It's a lot cheaper. So this needs a vacuum freezer with unformed fluoroflogopite, which is made in a blast furnace with raw fluoroflogopite dust and molten magnesia. And the raw dust is a mixer recipe with, in my case, nether quartz dust, potassium fluorosilicate dust, alumina dust, which is cheap, and potassium carbonate dust. Potassium carbonate is made like this in an LCR, pretty easy. And the potassium fluorosilicate dust is another mixer recipe with rock salt, which I hate, and hexafluorosilicic acid. And this I actually make as part of it's part of the bastnasite line. So I already have basically everything, so I just patterned it up and that was good to go. In other news, I also made a second fluid shaper, and I flipped it on its head and put it on the first one. And this can share inputs. This whole layer is shared, and I need to move things up to that layer. This basically doubles my processing speed, so this glass was very annoying to make for the MEBF. Super slow, so totally justified. And I also didn't realize this before, but the Mk4 compact fusion reactor, it needs a scan, and I didn't even look at this, but it's a hypervisor matrix. And this is 9 Mark III fusion control computers compressed. It takes 6,600 seconds base speed. It took me 1,600 seconds. That was still a long wait. But yeah, now the compact fusion computer controller is done, but I haven't finished the quest, and I'm not going to finish the quest until I actually have the coils as well. Nearly there. Okay, all cleaned up. So, kind of similar to the component assembly line, I have subnets for each circuit. So this green one is my main one. It's the circuit 11 subnet. And basically inputs go in, stored in the drive, and I automatically pull with an advanced stocking input bus and I use a regular stocking input hatch set to the 3 possible fluids. You could use an advanced stocking hatch, but I can get by with this, so I don't need to. For recipes that don't have fluids at all, I'm just using crafting input proxies and crafting input buses. Once I get crafting input buffers, which can handle fluids, then I will just replace these subnets with that. And that will scale much more easily than extending these cables. This thing is fast, by the way. Super fast. The vacuum freezers cannot keep up. Not even close. So this should help a lot with the advanced fusion coils. And I might expand the vacuum freezer as well. I'm using UIV energy hatches because I kind of need to in order to provide enough power to this, even though the minimum required is UHV. Now this thing is a real beast. It's so much better than the Compact Mark III. Mark III has 2-2 overclock. And the way fusion reactors overclock, remember, is that it's not based on the voltage tier. It's based on the mark of the recipe. So a Mark I recipe, like helium plasma, would get 2 overclocks in a Mark III reactor. And it would get 3 overclocks in a Mark IV reactor. So doing a Mark I recipe in a Mark III reactor would be 2 times 2 faster, because it's overclocked twice. Mark IV reactors, though, they get 4-4 overclock. So a Mark I recipe in a Mark IV reactor is going to be 4 times 4 times 4 times faster, which is 64. So instead of 4 times faster, the recipe will be done 64 times faster. Of course, that is the extreme case of using a Mark I recipe. If I use a Mark II, in the bottom it would be twice as fast, and in the top it would be 16 times as fast. And if I use a Mark III, at the bottom it would be 1 times as fast, and in this it's 4 times as fast. So one Mark IV compact fusion reactor is between 4 and 64 times as valuable as a Mark III. That's pretty crazy. On top of that, because this is a Mark IV reactor, I've unlocked some new recipes. I haven't looked at all of them yet, but the one I want to do right now is for Hypogen. Molten Hypogen has 2 main recipes at the moment. One is this DTPF duplication recipe, which needs some Hypogen to get started, but it also needs infinity coils. So I still need to do the infinity coils, so I won't be able to do this even once I have my Hypogen. But the other recipe to make Hypogen is in a Mark IV fusion reactor using Molten Dragon Blood and Molten Rugner. Molten Dragon Blood seems to be hard to get. There's a quest about it, and it says here that there is a mixer recipe that's very slow and resource intensive, and it costs dragon eggs, which I can make, but it's annoying. But this is apparently my only realistic option if I'm trying to avoid magic and bees, which you know I am. So I might do this recipe a little bit, but if it's really painful, I'll look into either magic or bees. Probably magic, because I already have a lot of magic infrastructure. I'm gonna need a lot of dragon blood, but for right now, I have dragon blood nuggets, and these can be fluid extracted in a UIV fluid extractor to get molten dragon blood. I got this from fighting the end dragon, like ages ago. It's just been sitting in storage until now. So I'm gonna craft some up. And now I have half of what I need for my first Hypogen, but I also need Molten Rugner. And this is also a fusion recipe, Mark IV, uses Molten Quantum and Infinity. Not too hard. Got my Hypogen crafting, and by the way, if you're thinking about not using the DTPF duplication recipe for Hypogen, stop thinking that. Look at the speed. 409 seconds per craft. And I do get 64 parallels, but this is a quarter of an ingot. So 16 ingots in 400 seconds, that's pretty bad. Meanwhile, in the duplication recipe, I get plus 10 ingots every 75 seconds. And this can be overclocked. Definitely don't use compact fusion for this. I mean, you have to for the first time, but besides that. And by the way, to fluid solidify this into an ingot for the quest, which I might not do yet, I need a UIV fluid solidifier. So 2 UIV hatches. That's fine, but I think I am not going to actually do this until I have this duplication recipe set up. I am currently crafting the infinity for the infinity coils, but something about my automation was a little wrong or off. I don't know. I didn't like exactly how it worked, so I'm gonna try and figure out a different solution. Well, infinity coils are done, But replacing this is painful because I'm gonna lose the discount. Well, I guess it's fine, because I'm trying to figure out a new system anyway, so whatever. It doesn't matter. I've also unlocked the raw tesseract recipe, which does need infinity coils, so after I replace this, I'm gonna make this. This is relatively cheap and easy to do. Tyritsu, octiron, cosmic neutronium, sonarium, abyssal alloy, and botmium. Also a ZPM circuit and resplendent catalyst, so not too bad. And once that's done, the only thing left to do in UIV, besides the Hypogen, I guess, this is pretty much done. The only thing left is grade 8 water. After that, I can enter UIV. I think I might enter UIV at the end of this episode, and then I'll do water next time. But first I gotta swap out these coils. Ooh, look at that. I kinda don't like it. It's a little obnoxious. But nice. This has unlocked quite a few things. That did take long enough for me to lose my discount, so I have to build that up again. Oh well. But first, let me make a tesseract and some transcendent metal dust. Weird. Weird objects. Very weird. Okay, officially in UIV. But I am going to finish off the grade 8 water first. So I'm going to craft up all of these things between episodes. I don't think it's going to be particularly interesting. There's nothing really new here. But if there is, I'll bring it up. But I don't think there is. Also, I think instead of making quantum anomalies, I'm going to start making hypogen instead. Because this is also a pretty slow recipe. And it uses a lot of power, which means other recipes will be overclocked, which is pretty nice. But that does mean, you know, it's going to cost me a lot of power to keep things going. This is a pretty much constant 800 million EU per tick cost all the time. I think that's fine. I hope that's fine. I guess we'll see. This does need prosaic catalyst too, which is much faster to make because it's the second tier of catalyst. Quantum anomalies need the tier 3 catalyst, so this is just strictly an upgrade, pretty much, assuming you can power it. One more thing I might look at in the next episode is the quantum force transformer. But we'll come back to that next episode. Thank you for watching this episode of the HamCorp Trading Manual. In the next episode, we will switch out the passive DTPF craft from quantum anomalies to hypogen, craft the grade 8 water multiblock, and perhaps craft the first quantum force transformer. Also, after further thought, I've decided to skip the UIV component assembly line. There doesn't seem to be enough of a demand of UIV parts to really justify the cost. See you next time.